Your future is shaped by what you fix every single day, not what you dream about once in a while. Be real with yourself for a moment. Are you actually working on your life daily, or just hoping things will somehow get better? Most people want change, but they ignore the small things they should improve every day. That's where they lose control. This video is about 10 real things you must work on every day if you want your life to move forward. Not big ideas, not complicated steps. Just simple daily work on your mindset, your habits, your actions, and your choices. If you miss these daily improvements, you stay stuck. If you focus on them, everything starts to shift slowly but surely. Stay with this, because you might realize you have been ignoring the exact things that could change your life. Chapter 1. Fix your morning so your whole day feels right. You wake up every day with a chance to set the direction of your life, and most people waste that chance before they even get out of bed. The way you start your morning is not a small thing. It shapes your thoughts, your energy, your decisions, and your results. If your morning is rushed, confused, and careless, your whole day starts to feel heavy. You don't feel in control. You react instead of acting with purpose. And after some time, that becomes your life pattern. Now think about this carefully. Your morning is the first conversation you have with yourself. Before the world speaks to you, before your phone fills your mind, before anyone demands your time, there is a quiet moment where you decide who you are going to be today. Most people ignore that moment. They wake up late, grab their phone, scroll through other people's lives, and immediately feel behind. That feeling stays with them all day. You cannot build a strong life with weak mornings. When you wake up, the first thing you need to fix is your awareness. Open your eyes and take a moment to realize that you are alive, breathing, and given another day. That may sound simple, but it changes how you feel. When you rush past that, you miss the chance to ground yourself. When you pause, even for a few seconds, you create space in your mind. That space is powerful. It keeps you from being pulled in every direction. Then comes your body. If your body feels slow and tired, your mind will follow. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need something complicated, but you do need movement. Stand up, stretch, walk. Do something that wakes your body up. When your body starts moving, your energy shifts. You begin to feel active instead of lazy, and that feeling carries into everything else you do. Now look at your thoughts. This is where most people lose control. The moment they wake up, they start thinking about problems, pressure, things they didn't finish, things they are worried about. That creates stress before the day even begins. You must take control here, not later, right at the start. Ask yourself a simple question. What kind of day do I want today? Not what problems might come, not what others expect. What do you want? Do you want a focused day, a calm day, a productive day? Decide it. When you decide, your mind starts looking for ways to match that decision. If you don't decide, your mind will follow whatever comes your way. Your environment matters too. If the first thing you see is a messy room, it sends a signal to your brain that things are not in order. That feeling spreads. Take a few minutes to clean your space. Make your bed. Open a window. Let fresh air in. These are small actions, but they tell your mind that you are in control, that you care about your space, that you are ready to take charge of your day. Now, let's talk about your phone. This is one of the biggest distractions in the morning. You wake up and immediately give your attention away. Messages, videos, news, other people's opinions. Before you even think for yourself, your mind is filled with noise. That weakens your focus. That lowers your clarity. Keep your phone away for a while after waking up. Give yourself time to think your own thoughts first. Protect your mind in the morning. What you allow in early will shape your mood for the rest of the day. Then comes direction. Many people start their day without knowing what truly matters. They move from one task to another without purpose. That leads to frustration, You stay busy, but feel like nothing important is getting done. Take a few minutes and decide what matters today. Not everything, just a few important things. What must get done? What will move your life forward? When you are clear about that, your day starts to feel focused. You are no longer guessing. You are moving with intention. And then there is discipline, not motivation. Discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Some mornings you will feel strong. Some mornings you will feel tired. Some mornings you will not feel like doing anything. That is normal. But your results do not come from how you feel. They come from what you do. You must build the habit of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. That is how strong mornings are created, not by waiting for the perfect mood, but by taking action anyway. Now, think about your emotions. Your morning sets your emotional tone. If you start your day feeling rushed, angry, or stressed, that feeling stays in your system. It affects how you talk to people. It affects your decisions. It affects your patience. Slow down your morning, just enough to feel calm. You don't need hours, just a little space where you are not rushing, where you can breathe, think, and settle your mind. That calm feeling is powerful. It helps you respond better instead of reacting quickly. There is also something important about self-respect in the morning. When you wake up and take care of yourself, move your body, organize your space, and focus your mind, you are sending a message to yourself. You are saying, I matter. My life matters. My time matters. That builds confidence. Not loud confidence, but quiet strength. The kind that shows in your actions. And here is something many people ignore. Your morning is not just about today. It is about your future. Every strong morning builds a stronger version of you. Every weak morning keeps you stuck in the same place. These small daily actions turn into long-term results. If you keep starting your day the same careless way, your life will not change. But if you begin to fix your mornings, even in simple ways, you will start to notice something. Your focus improves. Your energy improves. Your decisions improve. And slowly, your life starts to move in a better direction. This is not about being perfect. It is about being intentional. It is about taking responsibility for how you begin your day. Because once the day starts moving, it becomes harder to change direction. People start asking things from you. Tasks start piling up. Time starts moving fast. But in the morning, you have a moment of control. A moment where you can decide how things will begin. Use that moment wisely. Fix your morning, and you will not just change your day. You will change how you live. Chapter 2. Move your body daily, even when you feel lazy. There are many days when your body does not feel ready, and your mind starts giving you reasons to stay still, to sit longer, to wait for the right mood. But the truth is simple and direct. Your body does not need your mood to move. It needs your decision, and that decision must come from a place deeper than comfort. Because comfort will always try to keep you where you are, and if you listen to it every day, you slowly lose strength, energy, and confidence without even realizing it. Laziness is not always about being tired. Sometimes it is about habits you have allowed to grow, habits that tell you it is okay to delay, it is okay to skip, it is okay to do it later, and later turns into never more often than people admit. And over time your body starts to reflect those choices. It feels heavier, slower, less responsive, and your mind begins to match that same pattern. You feel less driven, less focused, and less willing to take action in other areas of your life. Now consider this. Your body is not separate from your life. It is part of everything you do. The way you move affects the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you show up in front of others. When your body is active, your mind becomes clearer, your mood becomes lighter, and your confidence rises in a quiet but noticeable way. But when your body stays still for too long, everything begins to slow down. Your thinking becomes dull, your energy drops, and even simple tasks feel harder than they should. You do not need a perfect plan to start moving. You do not need a special place, expensive equipment, or a long routine. What you need is a simple commitment to yourself that no matter how you feel, you will move your body every day in some way. And that movement can be small at first. It can be a short walk, a few stretches, or even just standing up and moving around when you feel stuck. What matters is not the size of the action, but the consistency of it. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy and your mind feels slow, and in those moments, your thoughts will try to convince you to stay where you are. But this is where your discipline must take over, because discipline is what keeps you moving when feelings try to hold you back. And every time you choose to move anyway, you are training yourself to take control, not just of your body, but of your life. Movement is not just physical, it carries emotional weight as well. When you move your body, you release tension that builds up inside you. Stress that you may not even notice begins to ease, and your breathing becomes deeper and steadier. This creates a sense of calm and balance that stays with you throughout the day, and that calm helps you handle challenges with more patience and clarity. Think about the times when you felt stuck, when your mind kept going in circles, when you felt frustrated or overwhelmed. In many of those moments, the answer was not to sit and think more. The answer was to get up and move, because movement changes your state, it shifts your focus, and it breaks the pattern of negative thinking that can trap you if you stay still for too long. There is also a strong connection between movement and self-respect. When you take time to care for your body, even in small ways, you are sending a clear message to yourself that you matter, that your health matters, that your energy matters, and that message builds something powerful inside you. It builds a sense of worth that does not depend on outside approval, but comes from your own actions. You may not feel like it every day, and that is normal. But you are not aiming for perfect feelings. You are aiming for consistent action, because action creates momentum, and momentum makes things easier over time. What feels difficult today will feel natural later if you stay with it. And that is how real change happens, not in one big effort, but in many small efforts repeated daily. Your body is designed to move, and when you ignore that, you start to feel it in many ways. Stiffness, low energy, lack of focus. Even your sleep can be affected. But when you give your body what it needs, when you move regularly, you begin to notice improvements that go beyond the physical. You think more clearly, you feel more alert, and you handle your day with more strength. Do not wait for the perfect time to start, because that time rarely comes. Start with what you have, where you are, and do what you can, even if it feels small, even if it feels slow, because every step counts, every movement matters, and every day you choose to move, you are building a stronger version of yourself. There is something powerful about doing what is good for you, even when you do not feel like it. It builds character, it builds resilience, and it gives you a sense of control that cannot be taken away easily, because you know that you can rely on yourself. You know that you can act even when your mood is not supporting you, and that kind of confidence stays with you in all areas of your life. When you look back after weeks or months of consistent movement, you will not just see physical changes, you will see a shift in your mindset. You will notice that you are more active in your thinking, more willing to take action, and more capable of handling challenges. And all of that started with a simple decision to move your body each day. So when that lazy feeling shows up, when your body feels slow and your mind starts making excuses, pause for a moment and remind yourself that you are not here to stay comfortable all the time. You are here to grow, to improve, and to build a life that feels strong and meaningful. And that begins with small daily actions that you choose to take, even when they feel difficult. Keep it simple, keep it consistent, and keep showing up for yourself. Because every time you move your body, you are not just exercising, you are reinforcing a habit of action, a habit of discipline, and a habit of self-respect that will carry you forward in ways you may not fully see right now, but you will feel it, and that feeling will remind you that you are on the right path. Chapter 3. Keep your thoughts clean when stress starts rising. Stress does not begin outside you. It begins in the way you process what is happening around you, and the moment your thoughts lose control, your feelings follow quickly. Your body tightens, your breathing becomes shallow, and your actions start to reflect confusion instead of clarity. So if you truly want to handle pressure in a strong way, you must learn how to keep your thoughts clean when stress begins to rise. Not after it takes over, not after you feel overwhelmed, but right at the moment it starts building inside you. Most people do not notice how quickly their mind turns a small situation into a heavy one. Something simple happens, maybe a delay, a mistake, a message you did not expect, and within seconds your thoughts start racing. You imagine outcomes that have not happened, you assume the worst, and you begin to feel tension in your chest without even realizing how it started. This is where control is lost, not because of the situation, but because your thoughts were allowed to grow without direction. You have to understand something very clearly. Your mind will not stay calm on its own. It needs guidance, it needs awareness, and it needs you to step in and take charge when things start to feel intense. Because if you do not guide your thinking, it will follow patterns you have built over time. And many of those patterns are not helpful. They are based on fear, doubt, and past experiences that no longer serve you. When stress begins to rise, the first thing you need to do is pause. Not in a dramatic way, just a simple moment where you stop reacting and start observing. Notice what is happening inside you. Notice the speed of your thoughts. Notice the tension in your body. Notice how your breathing feels. This awareness gives you space, and that space is what allows you to choose a better response instead of being pulled into automatic reactions. Your thoughts need to be cleaned in the same way you would clean a cluttered room. When too many things are scattered, it becomes hard to focus. It feels overwhelming, and nothing seems clear. But when you begin to remove what is unnecessary, when you organize what remains, everything starts to feel lighter and more manageable. The same process applies to your thinking. You must begin to remove the thoughts that are not useful, the ones that add fear, pressure, and confusion. Ask yourself a simple question when stress appears. Is this thought helping me or hurting me? And be honest with your answer. If a thought is making you feel worse without offering any solution, but it does not deserve your attention, you do not need to fight it. You do not need to analyze it deeply. You simply need to let it pass and shift your focus towards something that supports you. This is not about pretending that problems do not exist. It is about choosing how you think about them. There is a difference between facing a challenge with a clear mind and facing it with a crowded mind. One allows you to respond with strength. The other keeps you stuck in worry and hesitation. And that difference is created by the quality of your thoughts. Your breathing plays an important role here as well. When stress builds up, your breathing becomes fast and shallow, and that sends signals to your body that something is wrong. But when you slow your breathing down, when you take steady and controlled breaths, you begin to calm your system. Your body relaxes, your mind follows, and it becomes easier to think clearly again. This is a simple tool, but it is powerful when used with awareness. Another important part of keeping your thoughts clean is being careful about what you allow into your mind. The information you consume, the conversations you engage in, the content you watch, all of these shape your thinking. If you constantly expose yourself to negativity, stress, and noise, your mind becomes filled with that same energy. And when pressure comes, it reacts based on what it has been fed. Choose your inputs wisely, protect your mental space, and give your mind the kind of material that helps it stay balanced and focused, because a strong mind is not built only in difficult moments. It is built in the daily choices you make about what you think about and what you allow to influence you. You also need to develop the habit of simplifying your thinking when things feel heavy. Stress often comes from trying to handle too many things at once. Your mind jumps from one problem to another, and everything starts to feel urgent. But in reality, most situations can be handled one step at a time. Bring your focus back to the present. Ask yourself what needs your attention right now. Not everything, just the next step, and then move forward with that. This approach reduces pressure, it gives you direction, and it prevents your mind from getting lost in unnecessary worry. Because when you focus on what you can do in the moment, you regain a sense of control that stress tries to take away from you. There will be times when your emotions feel strong, when frustration or fear rises quickly, and in those moments, it is easy to let your thoughts become harsh. You may start speaking to yourself in a negative way, and you may doubt your ability. You may feel like things are too difficult, but this is exactly when you need to stay steady, when you need to remind yourself that your thoughts are choices, not facts, and you have the ability to guide them in a better direction. Be patient with yourself during these moments. Do not expect perfection, but do expect effort. The effort to stay aware, the effort to redirect your thinking, and the effort to keep your mind as clear as possible, even when things feel challenging. Over time, this practice becomes stronger. You begin to notice stress earlier, you respond faster, and you recover quicker. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel manageable, not because your life became easier, but because your way of thinking became stronger. Keeping your thoughts clean is not something you do once. It is something you practice every day, especially in moments of pressure, because that is when it matters the most. And every time you choose clarity over chaos, every time you choose calm over panic, you are building a mind that can handle life with strength and balance. And when your mind is clear, your actions improve, your decisions become better, and your life begins to move in a direction that feels more controlled, more stable, and more aligned with who you truly want to be. And that is the real power of learning to manage your thoughts when stress begins to rise. Chapter 4. Finish one task daily that you keep delaying. There is something sitting in your life right now that you already know you should do. Something you have been pushing aside again and again. Something that stays in the back of your mind, no matter how busy you try to be. And every time you ignore it, it quietly takes a piece of your energy. It lowers your focus, and it builds a weight inside you that does not go away on its own. And the longer you delay it, the heavier that weight becomes. Most people think delay is harmless. They tell themselves they will do it later. They wait for the right mood, the right time, or the right level of motivation. But what they do not realize is that delay slowly changes how they see themselves. Each time you avoid something important, you send a message to your mind that you are someone who puts things off, someone who hesitates, someone who does not follow through, and over time that message becomes part of your identity. You may not notice it at first, but it shows up in many ways. You start doubting your ability to complete things. You feel pressure even before starting simple tasks, and you carry a sense of unfinished work that never gives you peace. And this is not because the tasks are too difficult. It is because they have been delayed for too long. Now consider what happens when you make a different choice. When you decide that every day you will finish one task that you have been avoiding, not many tasks, not everything at once, just one, and you commit to completing it fully, this simple decision begins to change everything. Because you are no longer letting delay control your actions, you are taking back control step by step. The first challenge is starting, because the longer a task has been delayed, the bigger it feels in your mind. It looks more difficult than it actually is, and your thoughts try to protect you from discomfort by suggesting that you wait again. But you must see through that pattern. The discomfort is not in the task itself, it is in the anticipation of it, and once you begin, that feeling starts to fade. You do not need perfect conditions to start. You do not need to feel ready. You only need to take the first step, even if it feels small, even if it feels slow, because action breaks the cycle of delay. And once you are in motion, it becomes easier to continue. But if you keep waiting, that cycle stays unbroken. There is a strong emotional shift that happens when you complete something you have been delaying. You feel lighter, your mind becomes clearer, and there is a sense of relief that is hard to describe but easy to feel. That feeling is not just about finishing a task. It is about restoring trust in yourself. It is about proving that you can do what you said you would do. That trust is valuable because without it, every goal feels uncertain, every plan feels weak. But when you build it, even in small ways, your confidence grows, not from words, but from actions, and that confidence carries into other areas of your life. You may think that one task a day is not enough, but consistency matters more than intensity. If you try to do too much at once, you may feel overwhelmed and return to delay again. But when you focus on one task each day, you create a steady rhythm, a habit that becomes part of your routine. And over time, those small completions add up to real progress. It is also important to choose the right task, not the easiest one, but the one that has been waiting the longest, the one that keeps coming back to your mind, the one that you know will make a difference once it is done, because facing that task gives you the greatest return. It removes the biggest source of mental pressure. There will be moments when you feel resistance, when you want to skip a day, when you feel like it does not matter. But this is where your commitment is tested, because the value of this practice is not in doing it when it feels easy. It is in doing it when it feels difficult, when your mind tries to convince you to avoid it again. You must learn to act even when your feelings are not aligned, because waiting for the right feeling is one of the main reasons people stay stuck. Feelings change, they rise and fall, but your actions must stay steady if you want to move forward. Another thing to understand is that delay often comes from fear, not always fear of the task itself, but fear of not doing it well, fear of making a mistake, fear of facing something uncomfortable. And instead of dealing with that fear, people choose to avoid the task completely. But avoidance does not remove fear. It only keeps it alive. When you face the task, even if you are unsure, even if you are not confident, you begin to reduce that fear. You show yourself that you can handle it, and with each step, that fear loses its strength, and your sense of control grows stronger. Finishing one task daily also improves your focus because it trains your mind to stay on one thing until it is done, instead of jumping from one task to another without completion. And this ability to focus is important in everything you do. It helps you work more efficiently, it helps you think more clearly, and it helps you achieve better results. You will also notice a change in your time, because when you stop delaying important tasks, you create more space in your day. You are not constantly thinking about what you still need to do. You are not carrying unfinished work into the next day, and that gives you a sense of freedom that is hard to achieve when you are always behind. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming consistent. It is about building a habit of completion, a habit of taking responsibility for what needs to be done, and that habit will shape your future in ways that go beyond simple tasks. Every day you finish something you once delayed, you are not just clearing your to-do list, you are shaping your character. You are becoming someone who takes action, someone who follows through, and someone who does not run from responsibility. And that identity is built through repeated action, not through intention alone. So when you think about your day, do not try to do everything at once. Choose one task that you have been avoiding and commit to finishing it, no matter how you feel, no matter how long it takes, because that one action will do more for your growth than many tasks done without focus or commitment. Over time, you will look back and see that what once felt difficult has become normal, that what once caused stress no longer holds the same weight, and that change came from a simple daily practice and finishing one task you used to delay. And that is how real progress is made, not in big moments, but in small, consistent actions that you choose to take every single day. Chapter 5. Talk to yourself like someone you truly respect. There is a voice inside you that speaks all day long, and most of the time you do not even notice what it is saying. But it shapes how you feel, how you act, and how you see yourself. And if that voice is harsh, critical, and impatient, it slowly breaks your confidence, it weakens your motivation, and it makes even simple things feel difficult. But if that voice is steady, honest, and respectful, it builds strength, it creates calm, and it helps you move forward with clarity. Many people treat themselves in a way they would never treat someone they care about. They speak to themselves with anger, they focus on mistakes, they repeat thoughts that bring them down, and they expect improvement from that approach. But it does not work that way, because growth does not come from constant pressure without support. It comes from a balance of honesty and respect, and that balance begins with how you speak to yourself. Think about this clearly. When you make a mistake, what is the first thing you say to yourself? Do you call yourself weak, careless, or not good enough? Or do you pause and say that you can do better next time, that you can learn from this and improve? The words may seem small, but they create very different outcomes. One leads to frustration and doubt. The other leads to correction and progress. Your inner voice becomes your daily companion, and over time it turns into a habit, a pattern that repeats automatically, and if that pattern is negative, it keeps you stuck, because you begin to believe what you are telling yourself, even if it is not true, even if it is based on a moment or a temporary situation, and that belief influences your actions, your decisions, and your level of effort. When you start speaking to yourself with respect, something changes. You begin to feel more stable, more patient, and more willing to try again after setbacks, because respect creates space for growth. It allows you to see your situation clearly without adding unnecessary pressure, and that clarity helps you make better choices. This does not mean you ignore your flaws or avoid responsibility. It means you address them in a way that supports improvement. Instead of breaking yourself down, you guide yourself, you correct yourself, and you move forward with purpose, because the goal is not to punish yourself, the goal is to become better. Your tone matters as much as your words. The way you speak to yourself should carry calm and control, not frustration and impatience, because when your tone is steady, your mind stays focused, but when your tone is harsh, your mind becomes tense, and that tension makes it harder to think clearly or act wisely. There will be moments when you feel disappointed, when things do not go as planned, when you fall short of your expectations, and in those moments, your inner voice becomes even more important, because it can either pull you down or help you stand back up, and the choice is yours. Instead of saying that you always fail or that you cannot do something, shift your words to something more useful. Remind yourself that this is a moment, not your identity, that you have the ability to adjust, that you can take another step, because those words create movement. They keep you engaged instead of shutting you down. Respect also shows in how you encourage yourself. When you do something well, do not ignore it. Acknowledge it. Recognize your effort, not in a way that makes you complacent, but in a way that reinforces your progress. Because when you see your own growth, you build confidence that is based on real action. Another important part of this is being honest without being harsh. You can tell yourself the truth without attacking yourself. You can admit where you need to improve without making yourself feel small, and that honesty builds trust, because you are not avoiding reality, but you are also not damaging your sense of self. Your inner dialogue affects how you deal with others as well. When you treat yourself with respect, you are more likely to treat others the same way. You become calmer in conversations, more patient in difficult situations, and more balanced in your reactions, because the way you handle yourself reflects in the way you handle everything around you. This is a daily practice, not something that changes overnight, because your current way of thinking has been built over time. But with awareness and effort, you can begin to shift it, one thought at a time, one sentence at a time, And each time you choose a better way to speak to yourself, you are building a stronger mindset. Pay attention to the words you use, especially in moments of pressure, because that is when your true pattern shows, and that is also when you have the greatest opportunity to change it, by choosing words that support your growth instead of holding you back. There is also strength in being patient with yourself, understanding that improvement takes time, that setbacks are part of the process, and that you are allowed to grow at your own pace. This patience creates a stable environment in your mind, where progress feels possible instead of forced. When you begin to respect yourself through your thoughts, you also begin to take better actions, because you no longer treat your goals lightly, you no longer ignore what matters to you, and you start making choices that reflect your value, because respect leads to responsibility. This approach creates a different kind of confidence, one that is not loud or dependent on outside approval, but one that is quiet and steady, built on how you treat yourself every day. And that confidence supports you in moments of challenge. It keeps you grounded, and it helps you move forward even when things feel uncertain. You are with yourself all the time. Your thoughts are always present, and the way you speak to yourself will either support your life or make it harder. So choose carefully. Choose words that guide you, that strengthen you, and that keep you moving in the right direction. And as you continue this practice, you will begin to notice that your mind feels clearer, your emotions feel more balanced, and your actions feel more intentional. Because you are no longer working against yourself, you are working with yourself, and that makes all the difference in how you grow and how you live. Chapter 6. Cut useless screen time and stay present in life. Look closely at how your day passes, and you will notice something that most people try to ignore. A large part of your time is quietly slipping into a screen without giving you real value, and it happens in small moments that seem harmless at first. A few minutes here, a few minutes there. But those minutes add up, and before you realize it, hours are gone. Your attention feels scattered, and your mind is filled with noise that does not help you move forward. The screen is not the problem on its own. It becomes a problem when it starts controlling your focus, when it pulls you in without purpose, when it replaces real experiences with endless scrolling, and when it becomes your default response to boredom, stress, or even simple pauses in your day. Because in those moments, you are not choosing what to do, you are reacting, and that reaction slowly weakens your ability to stay present. Being present means giving your full attention to what is happening right now, whether it is your work, your conversation, your thoughts, or even your rest. But when your attention is constantly divided, that you lose that connection, you are physically there but mentally somewhere else, and that creates a sense of emptiness that many people feel but cannot explain. Think about the last time you sat with someone and checked your phone at the same time. Your body was there, but your mind was split, and that affects the quality of the moment. It affects the connection, and over time, it affects your relationships, because people can feel when your attention is not fully with them, even if they do not say it. Now think about your own mind. When you keep switching from one thing to another on a screen, your focus becomes weak. It becomes harder to stay on one task, harder to think deeply, and harder to complete important work, because your brain gets used to quick changes and constant stimulation, and when that happens, anything that requires patience starts to feel uncomfortable. Cutting useless screen time is not about removing technology from your life. It is about taking control of how you use it. It is about deciding when it serves you and when it does not, and making sure that your time is spent in a way that supports your growth instead of distracting you from it. Start by noticing your habits. When do you reach for your phone without thinking? Is it when you wake up, when you feel bored, when you want to avoid something, or when you feel uncomfortable? These patterns are important because they show you where your attention is being lost, and once you see them clearly, you can begin to change them. You do not need to make extreme changes all at once. Small steps are enough to begin. Set simple limits for yourself. Create moments in your day where the screen is not part of your routine, especially during times that matter, like the start of your day, your work hours, or when you are with people. These small changes help you regain control over your attention. Replace those moments with something that keeps you connected to real life. It can be a short walk, a quiet moment to think, a conversation, or even just sitting without any distraction. These moments may feel unfamiliar at first, because your mind is used to constant input. But over time, they bring a sense of calm and clarity that screens cannot provide. There is also a strong emotional side to this. When you spend too much time on screens, especially on content that is not meaningful, you may start to feel restless, unsatisfied, or even low in energy, because your mind is consuming a lot but not gaining much, and that imbalance affects how you feel throughout the day. When you reduce that unnecessary input, your mind begins to settle. You start to notice your own thoughts more clearly. You become more aware of your surroundings, and you feel more grounded because your attention is no longer being pulled in multiple directions. Staying present also improves the quality of your work. When you give your full focus to a task, you complete it faster, you do it better, and you feel more satisfied with the result, compared to working with constant interruptions, where your attention keeps shifting and your progress slows down. This practice also builds discipline, because choosing to step away from a screen when it is easy to stay on it requires effort. It requires awareness, and it requires a clear understanding of what matters more in the long run. And each time you make that choice, you strengthen your ability to control your actions instead of being controlled by habits. You will notice changes in your relationships as well. When you are fully present with people, when you listen without distraction, when you engage without looking away, the connection becomes stronger, more genuine, and more meaningful, and that creates a sense of closeness that cannot be replaced by any digital interaction. There is also something important about silence, moments where there is no input, no noise, no scrolling, just you and your thoughts. These moments allow your mind to process, to reflect, to reset, and without them, your thinking becomes crowded, and it becomes harder to find clarity. It is easy to say that you will reduce your screen time, but the real change comes from daily action, from small decisions that you make consistently, from choosing to put your phone aside when you know it is not adding value, from being aware of how you spend your time, and from making adjustments when needed. You are not trying to remove screens completely. You are trying to use them with purpose, to make sure that they serve your life, instead of taking time away from it. And that requires honesty, because you need to admit when your habits are not helping you, and then take steps to change them. As you continue this practice, you will begin to feel more in control of your day, more connected to your actions, and more aware of your surroundings, because your attention is no longer scattered. It is focused, it is intentional, and it is aligned with what truly matters to you. Life is happening in real time, in the moments you live, in the conversations you have, in the work you do, and in the quiet spaces where you think and reflect. And when you are present, you experience it fully. You respond better, and you create a life that feels more real, more meaningful, and more in your control. So take a step back, look at how you are using your time, and decide where your attention truly belongs. Because once you begin to cut what is unnecessary and focus on what matters, you will not just change how you spend your day, you will change how you experience your life. Chapter 7. Learn something small that makes your day better. There is a quiet difference between people who keep growing and people who stay the same. And that difference is not talent, it is not luck, it is not even big opportunities. It is the simple habit of learning something useful every single day, even if it feels small, even if it seems like it does not matter much in the moment. Because over time, those small pieces of learning begin to shape how you think, how you act, and how you handle your life. Most people think learning has to be something big or formal, something that takes hours of study or special conditions. But real growth often comes from small lessons that you can apply immediately, something that makes your day easier, something that helps you understand a situation better, something that improves the way you handle your work or your relationships, and these small improvements build momentum. When you stop learning, your thinking becomes limited. You rely on the same ideas, the same reactions, and the same patterns, and that keeps you in the same place, because your actions are based on what you already know. But when you continue to learn, even in small ways, you expand your understanding, and that gives you more options, more clarity, and more control over your choices. You do not need to wait for the perfect time to learn. You can use the moments you already have, a few minutes in the morning, a short break during the day, or even time before you go to sleep. These moments can be used to take in something new, something that adds value, something that you can carry with you and use in your daily life. The key is to focus on learning that is practical, not just information that fills your mind without purpose, but ideas and skills that you can apply, something that helps you solve a problem, something that improves your thinking, something that makes you more effective in what you do, because when you see the impact of what you learn, you become more motivated to continue. There is also a strong connection between learning and confidence. When you understand more, you feel more prepared, you handle situations with more ease, and you are less likely to feel uncertain or stuck, because you have tools in your mind that help you move forward, and those tools are built through consistent learning. You may feel at times that you already know enough, that you have learned what you need, but that mindset limits your growth, because there is always more to understand, always a better way to do something, always a new perspective that can improve your approach. And when you stay open to learning, you keep yourself flexible and ready to adapt. Learning something small each day also keeps your mind active. It prevents your thinking from becoming dull. It keeps you engaged, and it creates a sense of progress that builds over time. Because even if the change is not immediate, you know that you are adding to your knowledge, and that gives you a sense of direction. It is important to choose what you learn carefully. Not everything deserves your attention. Focus on what is relevant to your life, what supports your goals, what helps you improve your daily experience, because your time is valuable, and the quality of what you learn matters more than the quantity. There will be days when you do not feel like learning, when you feel tired or distracted, and in those moments it is easy to skip it. But remember that this is a daily practice, not something you do only when you feel motivated, and even a small effort on those days keeps the habit alive. It keeps you moving forward instead of standing still. You can learn from many sources, from reading, from listening, from observing, from reflecting on your own experiences. Every situation has something to teach you if you pay attention, and when you begin to look at life this way, learning becomes a natural part of your day, not something separate from it. Another important part of this process is applying what you learn, because knowledge without action does not create change. When you take something you have learned and use it, even in a simple way, you turn it into experience, and that experience stays with you. It becomes part of how you think and act. Over time, these small daily lessons begin to connect. They build on each other, and you start to see patterns. You start to understand things more deeply, and you begin to make better decisions without having to think too hard, because your mind has been trained through consistent learning. This habit also brings a sense of purpose to your day, because you are not just going through the same routine. You are adding something new, something that helps you grow, and that feeling of growth is important. It keeps you engaged, it keeps you interested in your own progress, and it gives you a reason to keep going. You do not need to compare yourself to others. You do not need to learn everything at once. Focus on your own path, your own pace, and your own needs, because this is about your improvement, not about meeting someone else's standard. And when you keep that focus, your learning becomes more meaningful. There is also value in being patient with yourself, understanding that learning takes time, that not everything will be clear immediately, and that mistakes are part of the process. But each time you try, each time you learn something new, you are moving forward, even if the progress feels slow. When you look back after some time, you will notice the difference. The way you think will be sharper, the way you handle situations will be more effective, and the way you approach your life will feel more confident, and all of that comes from small daily efforts that seemed simple at the time. So make it a part of your day, no matter how busy you are, no matter how you feel. Take a few minutes to learn something that adds value to your life, something that makes your day a little better, because those small improvements will not stay small. They will grow, they will shape your future, and they will help you build a life that feels more capable, more aware, and more in your control. Chapter 8. Give time to people who actually matter to you. Time is one of the few things you cannot get back once it is gone, and yet many people spend it without thinking about where it is going, giving it to distractions, to noise, to things that do not truly matter, while the people who bring real meaning into their lives slowly receive less and less of it, not because they are not important, but because they are often taken for granted. You may tell yourself that you care about your family, your friends, the people who support you, but care is not just a feeling. It is shown through your actions, through the time you give, through the attention you offer, and through the effort you make to stay connected. Because without those actions, even strong relationships begin to weaken over time. Look at your day and notice where your time goes, how much of it is spent on things that do not add value, and how little is given to the people who actually matter. And this is not about making yourself feel guilty, it is about becoming aware. Because once you see the truth clearly, you have the power to change it. Giving time to the right people is not about quantity alone, it is about quality. It is about being present when you are with them, listening without distraction, speaking with honesty, and showing that you value their presence in your life. Because when your attention is divided, when you are half there and half somewhere else, the connection loses its strength. Think about how you feel when someone gives you their full attention, when they listen to you, when they engage with you without rushing. It feels real, it feels meaningful, and it builds trust. And that same experience is what you can offer to others when you choose to be present with them. Relationships require effort, not constant effort in a heavy way, but consistent effort in simple ways. A message, a call, a conversation, a moment of shared time. These small actions keep the connection alive. They remind both sides that the relationship matters, and without them, distance begins to grow, even if you are physically close. It is easy to assume that the people who care about you will always be there, that you can give them time later, that you can connect when things slow down. But life does not always wait for the right moment, and opportunities to connect can pass quietly if you are not paying attention. You do not need a special reason to spend time with someone who matters to you. You do not need a perfect plan. You only need the willingness to show up, to make space in your day, and to give them your attention, because those moments create memories, they build understanding, and they strengthen the bond over time. There will be times when you feel busy, when your schedule feels full, and it may seem difficult to give time to others, but this is where your priorities are tested, because what you choose to make time for shows what truly matters to you. And if relationships are important, they must be given space in your life. It is also important to recognize who truly matters. Not everyone deserves your time in the same way. Some people bring support, honesty, and positive energy into your life, while others may not add much value. And learning to focus your time on the right people is part of building a meaningful life. Giving time to the right people also supports your own well-being, because strong relationships provide comfort, understanding, and a sense of belonging. And when you invest in them, you create a support system that helps you through challenges and celebrates your progress. You may not always realize the impact of your presence, but it matters. Your time, your attention, your willingness to listen. These things have value, and when you offer them to someone who matters, you strengthen not only the relationship, but also your own sense of connection and purpose. There is also something important about being consistent, not just showing up once in a while, but making it a regular part of your life. Because consistency builds trust. It shows that you are reliable, that you care enough to maintain the connection, and that you value the relationship beyond words. You do not need to make it complicated. Simple actions are enough. Sitting together, talking about your day, sharing thoughts, listening without judgment. These moments may seem ordinary, but they are the foundation of strong relationships, and over time, they become something valuable. There will be moments when you feel distant, when communication becomes less frequent, when life pulls you in different directions, and in those moments, it is easy to let the distance grow, but it is also the right time to take a step forward, to reconnect, to remind the other person that they still matter to you. Giving time also means being patient, understanding that relationships have ups and downs, that not every moment will be perfect, but staying present, staying respectful, and staying willing to work through challenges, because strong connections are built through effort and understanding. As you begin to focus more on the people who matter, you will notice a change in how you feel. You will feel more connected, more supported, and more grounded, because you are not trying to go through life alone. You are building meaningful relationships that add value to your experience. This is not about doing something big or dramatic. It is about small, consistent choices, choosing to spend time, choosing to listen, choosing to care through your actions, and those choices shape the quality of your relationships and the quality of your life. When you look back, you will not measure your life only by what you achieved, but also by the connections you built, the moments you shared, and the people who stood with you. And that is why it matters to give your time wisely to the people who truly matter, because those relationships are part of what makes your life meaningful and complete. Chapter 9. Stay real with yourself about what is not working. There comes a point in life where you have to stop pretending that everything is fine when it clearly is not, because as long as you avoid the truth, nothing changes, and deep down you already know what is not working. You feel it in your daily routine, in your results, in your energy, and even in your quiet moments, when there is no distraction to hide behind, but facing it requires honesty, and honesty is something many people struggle with when it comes to themselves. It is easy to explain things away, to make excuses, to tell yourself that the situation will improve on its own, or that now is not the right time to deal with it. But time does not fix what you refuse to face. It only makes the gap wider between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap creates frustration, confusion, and a feeling that something is missing. Being real with yourself does not mean being harsh or negative. It means being clear. It means looking at your life without filters, without avoiding uncomfortable facts, and without blaming everything on outside conditions. Because while some things are outside your control, many things are within your reach, and you have more influence over your life than you may be using right now. Start by asking yourself simple but direct questions. What areas of your life feel stuck? Where are you not making progress? What habits are holding you back? And what patterns keep repeating without improvement? These questions may feel uncomfortable, but they open the door to awareness, and awareness is the first step toward change. When you identify something that is not working, resist the urge to defend it. Resist the urge to justify it, because that only keeps you in the same place. Instead, look at it with a calm and steady mind. Accept that it is not giving you the results you want, and understand that acceptance is not failure. It is clarity. Clarity allows you to see your situation as it is, not as you wish it to be. And when you see clearly, you can make better decisions. You can adjust your actions, and you can move in a direction that actually supports your growth, instead of repeating the same steps and expecting different outcomes. There is also a strong connection between honesty and responsibility. When you are real with yourself, you stop placing all the blame outside. You begin to see your role in the situation, and while that may feel uncomfortable at first, it also gives you power. Because if you have a role, you also have the ability to change your part in it. Many people stay stuck because they avoid this responsibility. They wait for things to change around them. They expect different results without adjusting their actions, and over time, they feel frustrated because nothing improves. But the truth is simple. Change begins when you are willing to see what is not working and take steps to fix it. This does not mean you need to fix everything at once. It means you need to start somewhere. Choose one area, one habit, or one behavior that you know is not helping you, and begin to work on it, step by step, with patience and consistency, because real change takes time and effort. There will be moments when you feel resistance, when you want to go back to your old patterns, because they are familiar, even if they are not helpful. But this is where your commitment matters, staying honest with yourself, even when it is uncomfortable, and continuing to take action, even when progress feels slow. It is also important to separate your identity from your current situation. Something not working in your life does not mean you are not capable. It simply means there is something that needs to be adjusted. And when you see it that way, you remove unnecessary pressure and focus on improvement instead. Another part of being real with yourself is tracking your actions and results. Not in a complicated way, but in a clear and simple way. Notice what you are doing daily. Notice what is leading to progress and what is not. Because sometimes the answer is already in your routine, but you have not taken the time to observe it closely. You may also need to let go of certain habits, ideas, or even routines that once felt right but no longer serve you. And that can be difficult, because letting go requires acceptance, but holding on to what is not working only keeps you stuck, and growth often requires making space for better choices. Honesty with yourself also improves your confidence, because you are no longer avoiding reality. You are facing it, you are dealing with it, and you are taking steps to improve, and that builds a sense of control that cannot be created through denial or avoidance. There is a certain peace that comes with clarity, even if the truth is not perfect, even if there are areas that need work. Because when you know where you stand, you know where to go, and that direction removes confusion and replaces it with purpose. You do not need to share everything with others. This is a personal process, a conversation between you and yourself, where you are honest, direct, and focused on improvement, not on judgment, because the goal is not to make yourself feel bad. The goal is to make your life better. Over time, this practice becomes part of your mindset. You begin to notice things earlier, you correct them faster, and you spend less time stuck in situations that are not helping you, because you have trained yourself to see clearly and act accordingly. When you stay real with yourself, you stop wasting time on things that do not work. You focus your energy on what does, and you build a life that is based on truth, not illusion. And that foundation is strong because it is built on awareness, responsibility, and consistent effort. So take a moment to look at your life honestly, not to criticize, but to understand, not to feel discouraged, but to gain clarity. And once you see what is not working, take the first step to change it, because that is where progress begins, not in comfort, but in truth. And that truth will guide you toward a better direction if you are willing to face it and act on it. Chapter 10. End your day by deciding what to do better. At the end of each day, there is a quiet moment that most people rush past. A moment where you can sit with yourself and look at how the day actually went, not how you hoped it would go, not how you explain it to others, but how it truly unfolded through your actions, your decisions, and your responses. And this moment holds more value than many realize, because it gives you a chance to improve your life one day at a time. If you go to sleep without thinking about your day, you carry the same patterns into tomorrow. You repeat the same habits, the same mistakes, and the same missed opportunities, because nothing has been examined, nothing has been adjusted, and without reflection, there is no direction, there is only repetition. Ending your day by deciding what to do better is not about being hard on yourself, it is about being aware. It is about looking at your day with a clear mind and asking simple questions that guide you forward. What went well today? What did not go as planned? Where did you lose focus? Where did you act in a way that you would like to improve? And these questions help you see your day with honesty. When you begin to reflect, you start noticing details that you may have ignored during the day. Small actions, small reactions, moments where you could have handled things differently. And these small moments are important because they shape your results over time. And by paying attention to them, you give yourself the chance to make better choices in the future. This process creates awareness, and awareness leads to control, because once you see your patterns clearly, you are no longer acting blindly. You are making conscious decisions, and that shift from unconscious action to conscious action is what drives real change. It is important to keep this reflection simple and focused. You do not need to overthink or analyze everything deeply. Just take a few minutes to review your day calmly, without rushing, without distractions, and without judgment, because the goal is not to criticize yourself, the goal is to understand and improve. When you identify something that you could have done better, do not stop there. Decide what you will do differently next time. Make it clear and specific, because vague intentions do not lead to change, but clear decisions do. And when you decide in advance how you will act in a similar situation, you prepare your mind to respond better. There is also value in recognizing what you did well, because improvement is not only about fixing mistakes, it is also about reinforcing positive actions. When you acknowledge what worked, you are more likely to repeat it, and that builds confidence and consistency in your behavior. You may notice that some patterns repeat, certain habits, certain reactions, certain ways of thinking, and this is where your focus should be, because repeated patterns show you where change is needed the most, and by addressing them step by step, you begin to break cycles that may have been holding you back for a long time. Ending your day with reflection also brings a sense of closure. It allows you to release the day, to let go of what has already happened, and to prepare your mind for rest, because when you carry unfinished thoughts into your sleep, your mind stays active, and that affects your energy for the next day. This habit also strengthens your discipline, because it requires consistency. It requires you to show up for yourself every day, even when you feel tired, even when you feel like skipping it. And each time you follow through, you build a stronger sense of responsibility toward your own growth. There will be days when you feel proud of your actions, and there will be days when you see areas that need improvement. And both are valuable, because progress is not about perfection. It is about steady movement, learning from each day, and using that learning to shape the next one. You do not need a long process. You do not need a complicated system. Just a few minutes of honest reflection and a clear decision for improvement. And that is enough to create change over time, because small daily adjustments lead to big results when they are done consistently. As you continue this practice, you will begin to notice a shift in how you live your day. You will act with more awareness. You will make decisions with more intention, and you will respond to situations with greater control, because you are not just reacting in the moment, you are guided by what you have learned from previous days. This approach also builds trust in yourself, because you are actively working on your growth. You are not ignoring your actions. You are not avoiding responsibility. You are facing your day with honesty and making changes where needed, and that builds confidence that comes from within. There is something powerful about ending your day with a clear mind, knowing that you have taken the time to reflect, to understand, and to decide how you will improve. because that creates a sense of progress that stays with you, even when the day was not perfect. Over time, this habit becomes part of who you are. You become someone who learns from experience, someone who adjusts and improves, someone who takes responsibility for their actions, and that identity shapes your future in a meaningful way. So, before your day ends, take a moment, sit with yourself, review your actions, and decide what you will do better, not in a heavy or stressful way, but in a calm and focused way. Because this simple practice has the power to guide your life in a better direction, one day at a time, one decision at a time, and that is how lasting change is built.